never daft. You see the high cues there, but I don't know. There's something about this time where you're forced to. This is the time where you're either going to be like all the things you've been talking about that you've been wanting to do. You've been wanting to be with your family more. You've been wanting to be learning more. You want to be spending time with your davening more. I'm saying some of my davenings now, I mean, they're disasters, and some of my davenings just wow. Like I daven Marv, and I don't feel like pressure. I'll do it at 11 o'clock at night. I'll do it at 12 o'clock at night, but I'll do it. But again, it's mamish. Everyone's riding these waves. Everyone's riding these waves.
Everybody.
Should we start, gentlemen?
Are we on?
Yeah, let's go. Ladies and gentlemen, beautiful. Thank you for joining us today for the webinar of Gedale Fenster and Dr. Benjamin Epstein. The shir was sponsored for the Refuah Shelema of Shefiyeh, Shoshanna, Bibi, Sara. Amen. She should have a full Refuah Shelema and get back to her family as soon as possible. And for the Refuah Shelema of Klal Israel, and everyone should be healed as soon as possible. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu should guide us back to where we need to be in life. Doctor, you want to take over?
Yeah, I'll also in the Refuah Shelema will continue the Rabbi Chaim Kramer, Rabbi Chaim Menachem Ben Leah. And Hashem give him the Refuah Shelema. So today I have a pleasure to have an old school buddy of mine that we actually went to high school together.
OG.
20 years ago, but then we disconnected for about 20 years after. And we actually, how I got to Ben's book is actually listening to a class on Rav Yosef Rosenfeld. And he mentioned about, there's a great book called Living in the Present. And then obviously I bought the book, started reading it. I looked at the back cover, I'm like, this guy looks familiar. I went to high school with this guy. I said, what the heck? I was shocked. And me and Ben, we grew up in Miami Beach, going to Hebrew Academy. And here we are today talking about Rabbi Nachman. And I'm going to tell you right now, this is the majority of the book that we're going to talk about, Living in the Present. Strongly recommend the book. Phenomenal book cover to cover. It's so much, you have so much depth in this book, Ben. It's just, I mean, literally, this is the second time I read it because I read it. Obviously, I've had a little time on my hands, but it's just the ideas popped in this morning so much more, and I'm so happy to have you here. But it's really, I think you had prophecy in coming out with this book, especially for now. There's nothing more than right now living in the present. Ben, talk, and it's funny because we met in Uman. So tell us the story about Uman.
The Uman story was really just, we ran into each other on Pushkina, Erev Rosh Hashanah, and I said, I thanked you profusely because I said, thank you so much, because I was just telling you this, I was sitting in my bed and my brother-in-law sent me a text. He says, some amazing speaker, I'm in this room, and he's like, somebody brought me along and he sent me this clip. He's like, this huge ballroom and somebody is shouting out your book. You're not going to believe this. I said, what is it? No one's shouting out my book. And it was Gedale Fenster in Yerushalayim talking about the fruit on the tree, and we're going to get back to that. And then I ran into you in Pushkina, Baruch Hashem. We should be zocheh to be in Uman this year. And I said, thank you so much. I said, thank you so much. And you said, what are you talking about? It's like, let's do this. I was like, all right. And from there, I really believe that the seed has been planted, and now it's happening, that we're really coming together to share ideas and to speak to the seaboard that's looking to just quench their thirst, especially now during these very difficult times, to just get a little bit of peace of mind, a little bit of presence, and a little bit of Yishuv Hadas, which you speak about every single time to your chabura, to your chevra of Hasidim, of Hasidot. And Baruch Hashem, I'm happy to be able to be a part of the journey.
Amazing. So what I want to do is basically, I want to explain to people that how you basically went into so many aspects in this book, and I mean, it's chapter to chapter. But let's talk about the common theme is Rabbi Nachman. Obviously, the common theme is Rabbi Nachman, and if we could explain Rabbi Nachman and Rabbi Natan, the amount of sarot and the amount of worries and the amount of anxieties they had people attacking them, they had miznagdim. But the one thing that they mastered, and I think one of the things that I was able to get from Rabbi Nachman's teaching is basically creating yourself, becoming a new person. And I would tell you that this Shabbat, somehow I renewed myself this Shabbat. I feel like a completely different person. Last week, I felt like I couldn't even, it was just so much resistance. But the whole concept that you can wake up and just be a renewed person, and you don't have to be a slave to Andrew Cuomo and Dr. Fauci and all these clowns. you can actually become a real. You can actually be alive, and obviously all of our energies is from our emunah. But the whole concept of Reb Nachman, of the renewal, this is what you so much touched upon. That things I talk in my class is that if you do what you did in the beginning of the relationship, there'll never be an end. And this is what this book's all about: constant renewal. And it's such a beautiful book, Ben. And I think we spoke. It took you 4 years to make this book, huh, Ben? Tell me how that process was. How did you get this idea?
The idea came from graduate school. I'm a clinical psychologist, and the idea came from graduate school. There's an idea called mindfulness, which is, any spiritual tradition has it. And I remember being very enamored with it and feeling like I've never had any experience like that. At least I was never taught anything like that. And if you look at all the teachers of Buddhism in the West, here's the Tzad HaShaveh Shabem, the least common denominator between Joseph Goldstein and Jack Kornfield and Sharon Salzberg and Sylvia Boorstein and Tara Brach, is they're all Amcha. They're all Yidden. And so it's wild. And then you start to be like, what about my tradition? Because I'm not looking at that. I think that there's some beautiful things you could probably take from a few places, and that's very nice. But and then you pick up an R.A. Kaplan, who's the godfather, Zachor Latov, who is a tremendous translator of Rabbeinu's works. And it's like, wow, this is our tradition. And we weren't taught this. This isn't what we were learning. And even in Hebrew Academy, many of our teachers were Hasidic, and they were not allowed to teach these ideas at the time. And the Vilna Gaon talks about this in Shelema, that there are different kufas, there are different times where there are different things that are coming down, different downloads. And this download is coming now for our generation. This is Mashiach's Torah. Chassidus is Mashiach's Torah. And to be able to see in our works, to go through Likutei Moharan and learn Torah, Ayin Reish Bet 272, Hayom in Bikolo Tishmau. Today, if you listen in my voice. And Rabbi Nachman writes that today, right now, you have the ability to tap into that. And not only was he preaching it, but the way Rabbi Nassim described him is he was constantly starting over. He would fail and start over. It talks about it in Sichot Haran, how he would start over many times in one day. Can you imagine? How many times have we frustrated ourselves and not get out of bed and say, forget it, our day's shot? He would just start over, because right now is another opportunity to start fresh. What a liberating belief. What an unbelievable realization to know that right now you could start again, specifically with a connection that you have with your Father in heaven that is unbreakable. Right. So
it's unbelievable. Exactly. It's an unbelievable concept.
To see someone living it.
Yeah. And because what we see today is we see so much resentment. People have so much resentment towards God. People have so much resentment towards their spouses. People have so much resentment, and obviously, I hear the phone calls. I see what people are going through, but there's so much resentment, and obviously, we need to understand that any negative emunah, any negative emotion that we're dwelling on, is really a lack of faith. Because we don't understand. We have to go through a constriction in order to have an expansion. But people are taking a one incident, or they're taking a situation, and their whole lives they're just stuck on that resentment. And I think that's what Reb Nachman says is, I remember him coming out with in Sichos Haran, in the book Wisdom, he says the power of forgetting. Imagine that you go to a client and you tell the guy, listen, just forget about it, just forgive them and start anew. It's such a crazy concept to say forget about it and start all over. That we love to control things. We love to hang on to things. And I think this book does a great job of liberating the person.
The F word in my therapy sessions is forgiveness, because God forbid that we should ever use that word, because, no, that's not, we can't go there. To use that word is already like, okay, we have to really delicately dance around. Maybe, you'd want to think about, and the reason why we forgive people isn't for them, it's for us. It's for us to be able to move forward in our lives. Right. But I'll tell you a piece from Rabbi Nachman that I saw recently in Torah 250, Reish Nun. You should know, Shekol minei tsar v'kol ha'yisurim eni rak mechisar nadas. Any suffering and any pain that you're going through is only from this lack of dat, this lack of ability to be mitchaber, to connect really to what's happening to right now. He says, because you're going to have pain. You're gonna have pain. Pain is inevitable. You stub your toe, it's gonna hurt. Your kid gets sick, it's gonna hurt. But the suffering, that's what we do to ourselves. That's what we do to ourselves. And I think I hear that in your shurim time after time after time. And we need to keep hearing that message, because that suffering is what we're doing to ourselves. I mean, just to see that in our svarim, it's just like, oh, hello. For all those Jews who ran to Buddhism, who ran to these, whatever they're called, retreats or these. It's like, we have our tradition. Let's go deep into this, and we have tzaddikim living and previous, who we can attach ourselves to, mind, body, and soul, and they could take us by the hand. I think
correct. Hello?
Yeah, I'm listening.
Yeah, so Benji, what we're doing, I think now, is what you did great in this book is the language has to be changed today. Like if we say the word teshuvah, it's a very heavy word for people to hear, teshuvah. But if you hear empowerment, people are more likely to say, I'm empowered. If you hear an empowerment conference, run to it. But if you hear the word teshuvah, it sounds heavy, even though basically it's the same concept. So this is what it's so important that you got that in this book, in this concept. Let's just go over a few things that I really loved in this book. It's been, you spoke about it in this concept, which blew my mind, and I did a whole class on that. That you spoke about it from Rav Kook's book, that the whole problem that the third day of creation, the apple and the tree were basically separated. The earth disobeyed and basically caused the apple to separate from the tree. And what basically this is teaching us today, it's separating the prize from the process. We don't want to go through the process. We just want to go through we want the prize. And what you wrote in this book, it says, because Adam removed the tree, he didn't want to go through the process. What happened? He needed something else to be happy. And I think this is something that we go through today. People saying, well, I need this to happen to be happy. I need that to happen to be happy. And that's basically what we're doing, is we're mimicking that third day of creation, that anytime you need something else to complete you, basically you're separating the fruit from the tree, which is exactly the situation today. We want to get there, but we don't want to suffer to get there. We don't want to go through the process. And this is one of the things that I teach in my class, that start enjoying the process. Start enjoying the building the kalim in the process. Talk a little bit about that on what you did here in chapter on Back to Eden, maintaining presence.
I don't think I could do a better job than you did, but I will just say another nakuda, another point just to add on to it, is that even if you're so heck bent about getting to that end, for whatever reason it is, and it's usually not going to be you don't even know how to appreciate it once you're there, because you've never experienced the process of what it took to get there. So even if you do get to Disney World, or whatever your dimyon fantasy is, it could be that amazing relationship with the Rebbe. Like, I just want to feel close, and you're there. Like, you don't know how to be there because you've never actually been in the process to get there. It's like you win. I don't know if it's exactly true, but I don't know the stories. But you hear about someone who wins the lottery, out of the blue, right, and you follow them. It's similar. I mean, it sounds great. We all want to do it. We all want it, but if you work for it, and if you recognize that the process is tailor-made for you, meaning this is the Tom in Rebbe Nachman's story, the Tom in the Chacham, the wise man and the simpleton. The simpleton right. is so happy, and this is I'm saying this to my kids all day, and they're just like, stop talking about this. I don't know, but they're hearing it in their heads because I'm saying it to myself. Zema asav shalov, zema asav shali. How come that guy next door is making double what I'm making? Not my problem.
Right.
Not my problem. That's not my problem. And my wonderful dear friend Rav Judah Michel, who's also a tremendous teacher of us, talks about shmirat einayim, not just not looking at things that shouldn't be seen, things on the internet and things on that nature, but just staying in your lane. Shmirat einayim means you need to focus on your avoda, because no one else's avoda can touch yours, and what you feel to be this insincere or not beautiful tefillah, as you see the person next to you and this person's learning that, and you know what Hashem is saying, give me you, Just the way we look at our kids, meaning I could care less that the kid next door is able to dunk a basketball. My kid's, able to jump in the kiddie pool and be like, look, Abba, look at this. Like, that's fantastic. I don't care that the other kid's an Olympic swimmer. What do I care? That's exactly the way we need to look at ourselves. And if we do just focus on that end result, and because of the West, their success there's a dollar bill sign in. Like, are you successful? Well, it depends how many cars you have. It depends how much money is in your bank. And I get seduced by that as well. Tavat Mammon is a real thing. But if we can learn how to be with whatever is happening right now and say, it's honey, it's sugar, it's this is my davening, this is my mitzvah, and no one else could do it like this, and you do a little dance, there's nothing else. And it's coming straight from our teacher. It's coming straight from our teacher who lived that way, and he taught Rebbe Nosson that way, and they set the world on fire. They set the world on fire. Baruch Hashem, we have living tzaddikim now. Rav Moshe Weinberger Shlita, who I was turned on to 10 years ago and has changed my life. Rav Avram Tzvi Kluger, who lives in Beit Shemesh right now. I go see him a few times a week or once a week, just to see there are people, and they're living completely in the present, and they have the weight of the world on them. They're worried about Am Yisrael 24/7, and they work on simcha, because they're Talmidim of Rabbeinu.
Beautiful. It's funny because I see this. I know somehow my video is off, but this is the new generation we have to deal with, the Zoom.
Miniot,
yeah.
Ni'imot, the sweetest.
So what happens is, it's funny because I see this. I see this literally in my eyes day by day. I run a detox and rehab center, and I see it constantly. I see it constantly happening. That as soon as you figure that, as soon as the client gets high, you figure that he's running. As soon as he gets the drugs or he gets what he wants, you should feel that he should be happy. But as soon as he gets that high from the drugs, he ends up becoming more depressed than before. So you figure we started recognizing it, that it's not the high. The high is really coming from the cravings. It's not really coming from the end product. That means it's funny because you even see today, all of a sudden, let's say somebody's dating somebody else, and all of a sudden they play hard to get, and all of a sudden they're nice to you, and the next thing you know, they're available for you. Somehow you don't want that anymore. You could just see how the Yetzer Hara is constantly making us chase. It's a big chase. Our whole lives we're running one chase after another. And when Nachman says it's like a sunbeam in a dark room. You think you have it in your hand, here it is, and boom. And you see so many people relapsing, because they get that craving. But at the end of the day, after the craving, after they got what they wanted, they feel depressed. So it tells you, it shows us that stop running after things. Stop chasing things in life. Start enjoying the process. Because as long as you're running, you're going to end up with nothing. And this is exactly what the ego does. The ego is always telling you the next moment is better than this moment. Even if you're talking to somebody, you know what? You're missing out. You could be doing something else. Even sometimes when I have a very bad case of ADD, and I struggle with this tremendously. And this is probably why I haven't written a book yet. It's because I can't. My focus.
Or why it took me 5 years.
I'm telling you, I have so much content that I could write 30 books. And I cannot focus on every time I'm starting to write a book. By the way, my mind says, you know what? Maybe I should make it for just religious people. But that's not going to sell much. Maybe I'll make it for only secular people. But what happens? My whole classes are based on religion. It's this constant bullying that I'm going through writing this book. It's driving me up a wall. And I should say, well, who cares? Maybe I'll just make the first one, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. I'll say the second one. But you could see how it's the constant rat race in our minds, and the constant rat race that we're going through. And the only way to fix this is living in the moment. And and this is something that it's helped me tremendously, because I'm always, if you're a high achiever in life, you always want to do more and more and more. But there's a time that we have to just sit, and there's a time to just focus, and there's a time to just be in a state of being instead of always wanting to do something. And and seeing the addicts constantly running out of my facility, getting their high and then coming back over and over, it teaches us that the Yetzer Hara wants you to chase. Anytime you're chasing happiness, like you said in this book, you're already dead. Because whatever you're going to get, it's going to come back and you're going to end up with basically nothing, which is such a beautiful, beautiful concept that even people tell me all the time, if I just got married, I'd be happy. Are you guaranteed to be happy if you're married? If I had kids, I'd be happy. Are you guaranteed to be happy with your kids? There's always something that people think that if I just had that, I'd be happy. And this is exactly what the Yetzer Hara is doing. It's telling you that you need something to be happy. So he takes your joy away from the moment right now.
Which
is beautiful.
No, it's what you speak. First of all, I want to bless you that you write your book, because if I can do it, I believe that a lot of people take chizah from it, because I will match you pound for pound with ADHD. We can, not that we want to brag, but I can see, we'll see who can spin more stories. But in a million years, just to, who could have predicted this? We have no idea. By definition, if you're a person who's in the future, if you're thinking about the future, you're already may not take from the present, and your future is solely based on your present right now. You can't imagine it, because by definition, the future is completely based on the way you're perceiving yourself now. You could be a new person tomorrow. You're looking at yourself stuck in this way, like it's always going to be like this. It's always going to be like this. So, why? Why is that? Why is it? Did you think that we'd be sitting here in a Zoom call a month ago with your, a person with their, the Pesach programs? They were counting their dollars before, and they should be blessed, and they should get, everyone should get, or the restaurants, and I have good people who are doing good work, and it's just like everything fell apart. And if you have emunah, then you're okay. And if you don't, and again, I'm not chas v'shalom saying anything on anyone, but recognizing how if a person has to be, like Rabbi Nachman says, a baki b'ratz and a baki b'shov. When things are going well, don't fly too high to the sun. And when things are not going well, just know that gam kielch begeit samavet lo yirara. But like with the piece in Rabbi Nachman's wisdom, where the Yetzer Hara is running around with his hand closed and say, guess what I have in here? And we all want to see. But if we live with Tmimut and Pshitut, it's just like, I don't care. Whatever's in your hand, it doesn't speak to me, because I know that my only happiness can be derived from when I am fully inhabiting where I am right now in my situation. This is the only way I can be connecting. This is the only way I can be happy. And look, I don't know, we look and see athletes living in beautiful homes and people having, and who knows? I'm sure you've had the pleasure or lack of pleasure of people coming in who you think have everything. And yet there's this pain that they are experiencing that no drug is going to satisfy, that no amount of until they figure out that, what they want and who they are, and to accept themselves as they are, and believing that nekuda tova, finding that nekuda tova in themselves. So again, I want to bless you to write that book. See, I was going to start off with a bracha, and then my ADHD took over. Brother, you write the book because you have no idea. You have no idea. Someday a big mashpia like Gedale Fenster could read your book and tell people to read it. So I guarantee you that was not my thought process when I was writing the book.
Ben, you spoke about something that I've never seen spoken about in any other book in Chassidus. Only Rabbi Nachman really, really, really nails this concept, which is running and returning. That either we're in a state of running or we're in a state of returning. If you tell this to people, they're going to tell you, what the heck are you talking about, running and returning? This is our lives. And I want to stress to people that when you're running, when you feel that clarity in the day, do as much as you can. Do as much as you can. But when you're returning, because you're not going to always be in that peak level, I think that's what people need to understand. Don't be upset that you don't have clarity all the time. It's okay. It's okay. Like I told you, I have a bad case of ADs, but sometimes I get a good 3-4 hours of clarity. That's the time I'll write 2-3 classes. But I know it's not going to be there all the time. And I'm not bothered by it all the time. Okay, this is what I have. I started accepting the conditions, life on life's terms. And that has been it's been a tremendous blessing when you just accept it, when you stop fighting it. Okay, I can't focus as much as I want to focus. I really would love to. But when I am focused, I'm going to run with it. And then when I'm not focused, I know I'm going to get it eventually back, but not beating yourself up so much. People today, they're beating themselves up so much because they're not at the level that they want, and they're not at the. You're not going to always have clarity. You can be the mindfulness guru in the world, and there still has to be a contraction in your life. Why? Because if you think you only have light, you're not going to understand what darkness is. We can only appreciate light when we have darkness. We can only appreciate the acceptance, just the acceptance. Yes, this is where I am, and when I have clarity, I'm going to do as much as I can. But when I don't have clarity, I'm going to hold on, but I'm not going to jump off the ship. And I think Nachman gave us such a clue. And I think you can apply this to your business. There's times in your business that you have a peak, and there's times in the business you have a contraction. And there's times in your marriage that you have a peak, communication's great, and next thing you know, 2 weeks after, you're like, oh my God, what happened to the good that I did? I thought we were in a good, next thing you know, your marriage goes from beauty to catastrophe. And you're like, what happened? It's called life. And when you recognize that every time you do feel good, it's a gift from God, then you're understanding that when you have that chance, when you don't feel good, and when you have that darkness in your life, that's the time to hang on. But that's exactly what you need to do at that moment. So you're actually connecting to the moment. The moment right now is I'm in a state of darkness. I'm in a contraction right now. What do I need to do? Just hang on, not jump off the line. And this is beautiful what you do. Is exactly what you do. Beautiful what you do in this book. It's just showing those two concepts of Chochmah and Bina.
It's again coming from my teachers, from Rav Avram Tzvi Kluger Shlita. I mean, that's almost like word for word taken from one of his svarim, just because he really encapsulates these ideas of we're going back and forth, and it's the breath, it's the inhale and the exhale. There's never, we don't want that flat line. We don't want that flat line, right, ever. And Rebbe Nachman in the 33rd Torah says, we'll find it.
He says if you're good on the 33rd Torah, he says if you're having a good day, enjoy it. But if you're having a rough day, look for the good in that day.
That day, which is that good in that day, is that's it.
That day.
Right? Is I think that's what you were saying, meaning in terms of that day is like, oh, wait a second, I want to be hitting on all cylinders. I want to be making all the sales. It's like, hey, guess what? You don't run the show. When it's going well, say thank you. Do your best. Do your shtadlus. But when it's not going well, where does all that self-judgment and self-blame, what only comes in is because you believe that you're the one in charge. And we have to be able, we have to be able to let go. And this is what I do in therapy, and this is what I imagine you're doing with your clients as well. When they hear the word acceptance, something goes off in their head and they say, acceptance, I mean, that's weak. Acceptance means laying down, putting my head down and just saying, oh, acceptance means, okay, you want me like this. This is how you want me right now. Great. It's not like, davening a 7-hour Shemona Esrei. It's not giving $1 million in tzedakah. I can only give this. I can only daven this. Okay. That's what you want. That's what I can give. It's beautiful. It changes everything, because who says it has to look the way you want it to? And even Rebbe Nachman does something that's so brilliant. Rebbe Nachman says, I'll have to find it. Rebbe Nachman says that a person who has questions on God and on tzaddikim, he says that's righteous. You're asking questions on God. You're asking
less than 5, yeah.
You're asking questions on God. You're asking questions on tzaddikim. He said, if you didn't ask questions on God, you'd be presuming to know what He's thinking, and that would be tantamount to heresy. That's apicorsis. So ask questions, ask away, but don't for a second give up. Ain't shum yesh ba'olam kol. We were talking about this before we started. It's like only if you're living in the present moment can you not have yesh. Because if you're in the past, you're like, oh my God, beating yourself up. I can't believe I did that. I can't believe that. I'll never be able. Or in the future, like I'll never be able to get there. How will I ever? But if you're right now, there's no giving up. Because right now, all I have to do is take care of my business right now. You have just this moment to do whatever it is you're supposed to be doing. And sometimes it might be sitting in your home and saying, I'm going to wait. I might not be able to do all these things that I want to do. Okay, I guess what I'm supposed to be doing right now, and this is the midah of hachna'ah, of subjugation, but it's not some sort of psychological disturbing malady that you're like, oh, I'm just going to like beat myself up. No, it's like, okay, my job right now is to accept that I'm supposed to be not going to pray in the minyan. I'm not supposed to go to the mikvah today. You're like, that stinks. Like, that stinks for you, but who's running the show?
Right. Yeah. Correct.
And it's like,
Correct.
wow. And it's just, you talk about giving it over. You talk about in Rabbi Nachman's wisdom of giving it over in the second piece, where he says he just gives it over. If you give it over, then hey, everything that happens, you're not stressed anymore because that's the way he wants it. Okay, 100%. If that's how he wants it. And again, it's hard because we look at it, it's like, we'd be doing it a lot differently. And it's like, excuse me, like we're like you learn to say for Eov. Do you know the whole, you don't see big picture, right? And you talk a lot in your classes about mochin de katnud and mochin de gadlut. Mochin de katnud is when you're looking at your little, 4x4 and it's like, you have no idea. You have no idea, and you never will. And that's where the emunah comes in. Because if you want to know all the pieces, then you get to be God. And guess what? That's not the system. I don't like that system.
I spoke beautiful. I spoke about the other day how, the intention, which is a beautiful concept. I got this from Rav Nachman, that we will be like the earth. This concept is so beautiful because we recognize that Adam was created from the earth, and he's going to end up being and he got buried in the earth. We're all this concept. That means if we stay close to the earth, and we're still focused on being humble, then there's no problems. It's only like you see, like the whole issue with the whole Sarat and the Lashon Hara is trying to make my building bigger than everybody else's by knocking down everybody else's building. But I recognize, yes, I have my building, but I don't have to knock everybody else down to build it. So you could see the element of air is an element of gava, of arrogance. Like I mean, if I'm going to talk bad about somebody, that means I've had to work on myself so much that I have time for that person. So I think that's why the evil speech is such a problem, because that meant not only are you not in your lane, but you're in somebody else's lane. It's basically saying, am I putting enough effort in myself that I have the audacity to go and judge somebody else? I think that's why the punishment is so bad, because you're not where you're supposed to be and you're in somebody else's lane. And also, again, trying to play God. So the Rav Nachman's message of connecting to the earth, always be grounded, always recognize that at the end of the day, you're going to end up in the earth. That's where you're going to be. So the closer you are to the earth, the less likely you will be a person will come to sin, or will come to any kind of arrogance, or who'll get stuck. Because if you're in the earth, it's very easy to get up, because you recognize that every gift that you got was from Hashem. But if you think you're entitled to more success right now, then you're not. Then you're saying you're doing it, not God giving it to you. I think that's one of the biggest things that people are suffering, because they think they're the ones, their hands that are succeeding. It's not really. It's a gift from God. You're just putting yourself in a position to win.
And putting yourself right, building yourself up for when that happens. And when it happens, don't know. But and Rabbi Nachman would tell his students, Kiseder, he's like, I can't give you a straight up advice, because it might be good for you now, but in 10 generations from now, it's going to bite you in the tuchus. But he would say, Hamtein, he would say, patient, be patient. Mm-hmm. And he would say, don't force the issue. Don't try to make it happen on your timetable. Be patient. When its opportunity is right, you have to hit. But you have to be really, really patient. So, to let things. This whole time of the Sefira is a time of patience, of building up the kelim, of building up the vessels, in order for when Shavuos comes to accept that. And even then, that Shavuos he talks about is also the name of waiting, of waiting even more, and to creating that yearning. And it goes against all of our natural, like, instant gratification, where if our internet isn't working fast enough, we buy a new computer. And it's like, update your phone and so we have to be really mindful of, just like, when we're getting caught up in that sort of, it's not just multitasking, it's that fear of missing out, which is, we have this attention, forget about attention span, it's just like we constantly feel with the barrage of what's going on. And I'm humbly suggesting to anyone on this call, don't listen to the news. You'll hear what you need to hear. I'm not saying don't be intellectual. I'm not saying don't read books. I'm very much in technology. I'm very much in reading. But to read the news about death tolls and when is the virus, I guarantee you, when the restrictions are lifted, someone will tell you can go back to work. But to read the news before you go to sleep at night, why? Where's that coming from?
Especially if it's not straight. Like right now we know there's political agendas going on. There's all kinds of agendas going on. Nothing is straight. Even a doctor that works for me, and you think, listen, the hospital is 40%, it's only got 40% capacity. In Florida, in one of the in Aventura, but there's so much hysteria that we think every single hospital is running with people outside. We think that everything is chaos, and we can't. And just like you tell a 2-year-old calm down, you can't tell a 2-year-old to calm down. 2-year-old is just running with his emotional brain and just wants to scream. And I think this is what God's telling you. You have an option now, that you have enough leverage that if we don't detach ourselves from this media, we're gonna end up sick. We're gonna literally end up sick, and our immune systems are gonna be shot. That's why it's so important to renew the constant renewal. And I'm so grateful that Hashem put me in this position, that I'm able to, to have these classes, and because it teaches me renewal. It teaches me to constantly renew.
I mean, the cover of the
book. Can everybody see me or no?
I can't see you. No? I can't see you. I see your fire. Your fire. Your mouth is on fire.
This is Hashem's concealment and revelation. Even in this, we get it.
The cover of the book is the new moon. Is the new moon, because I wanted that to be the image, because that A is Bnei Yisrael is compared to the new moon, that we have the capacity to renew ourselves and to know that even when it's darkest, and it was there's a chapter in the book, the first mitzvah that was given to Am Yisrael as a whole was HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem, the mitzvah of the new moon, because we needed to be reminded that even when we're slaves, even we're at the 49th level of Tumah, the lowest level that we could have gone, we always have the possibility to renew ourselves and renew our connection to ourselves, which is our higher selves, which is our neshama. We don't have to do anything to suddenly be there. And I wanted that so much to be the image of just reminding ourselves, like, the sun. It's like, no, we're the moon. We're the moon, and we have phases where we are shining bright, and we have phases when we are diminished. And God willing, one day, we won't be in that diminished state. But there's something really beautiful about the fact that we have these phases, and we have this constant waxing and waning, and we're beautiful just the way we are. That's just the way we're supposed to be. I see a question on the side that somebody says, if you accept everything, then you're never going to try and change yourself. No, that's, once again, don't make that mistake. Acceptance is the only way that you could actually move forward. Because if you're willing to accept, I'll give you, maybe tell me if this resonates, like the addict who doesn't acknowledge that he has a problem 100%. And accepts that he's an addict, can he actually get treatment in your facility? Can you actually help him?
Correct.
You can't. Acceptance means, okay, I'm here right now, and now I can move forward. I think Carl Rogers said, the curious paradox is when I accept myself as I am, then I can begin to change. The same way when a person does tshuva. When a person comes back to Hashem, the baseline has to be, we have an unbreakable bond. And then I'm going to beat myself up for what I did, because I'm coming from a place where I know that I am loved. You're raising your children, and you're going to be yelling at them and give them yira, and there's no ava. You're going to have to send your kid to therapy. But if your kid knows deep down, baseline, that you are loved unconditionally, and if you come home again at 3:00 in the morning, you are going to be grounded, and that kid's like, I hate you. It's just like, it doesn't change the fact that there is that immutable connection, and that child will grow, and that child will develop. So again, that acceptance doesn't mean that you don't want to change. That acceptance just means seeing things really, really clearly, and then moving from that spot, because we're not seeing things clearly. We're not able to.
I always said that Go ahead. Sorry.
No. I just wanted to address that question.
I always said that the best kind of parenting, and the same relationship we have with our Creator, is our Creator has high expectations, but He also has high warmth. And when you know your Father has high expectations from you, but He has high warmth, then there's no problem of you coming back. There's no problem of you connecting to Him. There's no problem. But when we think that our Creator has expectations and lack of warmth, then that's when we're really going to run away. So it's very important that we get all actions are based on our beliefs. We have to get our beliefs straight. What do you think is your relationship with your Creator is? I know my Creator has high expectations, high warmth, just like a parent. You would never want a parent that has no expectations and high warmth, because then he would be enabling you. Or you wouldn't want a parent that has no expectations and no warmth. That means he doesn't care about you. Or you wouldn't want a parent that has high expectations and low warmth, then he's a dictator. So your relationship with the Creator has to be that he has high expectations and high warmth. And this is the same thing why our Creator is constantly, when we're off our balance or we're not aligned with our soul state, we feel this void. It's because we're not aligned. It's not a lack of that he doesn't love you, he's out to get you. No, he created the world with love, but you have to recognize when we're not aligned, he's reminding us, come back to us. And this is something that the difference is, the Rebbe Rush talks a lot about this. There's a minor sin and there's a major sin. The minor sin is the sin itself. The major sin is the reaction to the sin. Is the reaction, the how could this have happened to me? What are you talking about? You're what do you think you are? I mean, of course you're going to fall. There's certain sparks that even myself, I've had a gambling addiction when I was 23, 24, relapse tons of times, many falls in my life. But every single fall that I had, I was able to come back, and not only come back, but help people through those situations. So I recognize that every single fall was actually a fall of love. What I picked up, what I fell, were major tools to help people today. So now I look at all the falls in the past, and I'm like, wow, there were blessings in disguise. And I think this is exactly what we need to teach people, that fall could be purposely sent from heaven, so you can either restart, which what Nachman says, either start all over, or and through that restart, you're going to become much bigger than you were before. So there's no real sense of despair. There's no sense of quitting. This is all the Yetzer Hara. And it's so important that if we don't have this language, you could say, wow, I tried to do this, and I feel nothing but emptiness. That's where it's very easy for a person to turn into, God forbid, Eastern religions, or to look for something more. But it's all right here. It's all right here. Ben, I want to talk to you about. I want to talk to you about this concept.
Sorry to cut you off.
Go ahead.
There's a book I'm pushing, Yichud HaAtbodedut, from Rav Aaron Tzvi Kluger. It's translated into English as one, because this is so in this book, I just want to talk about one thing that you just said. Rabbi Nachman says, if you believe you could break it, you could fix it. Go tell that to this Swarovski crystal chandelier. Go take it, smash it on the floor. You believe you could break it, go fix it, right? He says, no, that's you getting stuck. You said, you have to correct your beliefs before you start this. It's not talking about a physical object. We're talking about a father, son. And don't get caught up in your daddy issues right now. We're talking about the ideal picture of it. The loving, caring, whoever it is. It doesn't have to be your father. It could be the person who looks at you with those eyes and you could do no wrong. The only reason that you think and you're down because you sinned is because you can't believe that you did this. You turn on a switch on Shabbat and you feel this like, oh, how could I do it? And someone might not be observant might say like, what just happened? Why are you having a panic attack? You just turned on a light switch. And you're like, I just broke Shabbat. What a profound expression of emunah. What a profound expression of faith that you feel that. So if you feel so strongly when you do that Aveirah, so then if you believe that, then guess what? Your belief is as strong, if not stronger, to believe that you could fix it. So it's like you're saying that those emunah,
Beautiful.
those beliefs need to be put. It's all from our teachers, from Rav Aaron Tzvi Kluger. Just that analogy is just like, stop looking at it like it's you cheated on your girlfriend. Like that's not this. This is right? You cheat on your girlfriend 100 times. That's it. She's gonna give up on you. But we're talking about something that is completely different, completely higher. And that doesn't mean you take advantage of it, because if somebody loves you, like you said, like that father who's looking at you just has those expectations and just so much warmth and love. All you want to do is make that person happy, because hey, this person just gives you and gives you and gives you. It's like, well, I don't feel it gives me. Okay, well, talk about it another time.
Yeah, it's again dwelling on the past. Dwelling on the past is a lack of a moon. So the whole thing is the Yetzer Hara that makes you dwell on the past. Rav Nachman says it's not the snake that bites you, it's the venom. It's the venom. It's the effect afterwards, the yush. And this is something that we have to really, we have to get. You spoke a lot in your book, raising the sparks, the chapter on raising your sparks, which you speak about people's relationship to food. I'm very into this concept about, obviously when a person's feeling stressed, a normal reaction, especially today, is to hit the refrigerator. The constant binging, the constant eating, and the constant And you said something beautiful in here, that, people, the sin really wasn't the actual eating. The sin was forgetting. And I think this is so beautiful, that when a person is eating and he starts binging, at that moment, he's not connected to God. He's not really connected to God when he's eating. He's really forgotten God. And it's such a good mindfulness, because when, think about a person's hungry and he's about to go, and I always tell people, instead of facing your stuff, you're stuffing your face. And when you're stuffing your face, instead of facing your stuff, you forgot love. You forgot Hashem. You forgot Hashem in the picture. And you're beautiful what you say in this chapter, that at the end of the day, how you rectifying it is reconnecting it, and which is binging is forgetting about it instead of reconnecting it, which is beautiful. That's why we say a bracha, because when we say a bracha, we're reconnecting that food back to Hashem. Beautiful what you have in this chapter.
It's Reb Tzadok, Kohen Milubin, and it's Rabbi Nassim in Birchas Hareach. Again, it's none of these thoughts are mine. They're all, and I think that's part of the time it took to look at the book, is I really wanted this book to be straight from our sources, from our traditions. For a person would be like, you're trying to make Buddhism into Judaism. Like, no, Buddhism has some beautiful ideas, but this is all found in our traditions. And when Rav Ari Kaplan says it's all ours, and Rav Moshe Weinberger says it's all ours, I say it's all ours. And to their credit, they're practicing it. But imagine if we took an apple and we said, forget about an apple. We took a drink of water and we paused for 5 seconds and we said the words Shehakol Nihiyeh Bidvaro. I mean, it changes everything, because now I'm not eating. Now I've created a yichud, a real connection between, and taking an urge, which is a physical urge, and raising it up. And every single thing, every teaching in Chassidut is to take the physicality and to infuse it. Don't say I'm eating in order to learn Torah. No, say I'm eating in order to eat, because that eating itself is an act of holiness if my mind is in the right place. And then I'm not overeating, and then I'm not eating that bag of chips, and then the food tastes differently. And then, I'm really becoming a partner. And that's what the Gemara says. It's always Hashem's, but when we make the bracha, now we're part of the team, and that's all God wants. Maloch ha'aretz kivodo. He wants us. The only thing we can give him is to reveal his glory in the world. He doesn't need us for anything else. He's bringing God into every single aspect of your life, and you can do it when you're learning Torah, and you can do it when you're eating, a bag of chips. You can do it when you're watching the Heat, and hopefully the Celtics are beating the Heat. But and I had to do it. Every single thing we're doing is an opportunity for dveikut, and that was the chiddush of Chassidus, and the chiddush of Rabbi Nachman is that every single thing, every single place I'm going to Eretz Yisrael.
It's elevating it back.
It's elevating it back.
Elevating it back to the source. Rabbi Nachman's first lesson, it talks about this. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Rabbi Nachman talks about in his first story, talks about finding the hidden aspects in everything. Like looking at the godliness and everything. And, I gave this example one time, even if you're changing your kids' diapers, which I've been doing a lot, and you could see, when the kid makes a mess, who's changing him? The mother's changing him, or the father's changing him. And it reminds us of God constantly, he's constantly cleaning up after us. And even if you could sit there and when your kid is soiling in a diaper, you can have the mindset that I'm not just cleaning a diaper. Just like I'm cleaning this baby's diaper, my Creator is cleaning up all my messes. And all of a sudden you could take something so mundane and all of a sudden it becomes a spiritual practice. I do this all the time in exercise. When I'm working out, I'm always either running or returning. I'm pulling in or I'm pulling out. And it reminds me of my story of my life. Either I'm running in life, I'm running with clarity, or I'm returning. Just like when I'm running, I can't stay there forever. If the weights are up, they're going to have to come down. And if the weights come down, they're not going to be there forever either. I have to bring them up. And it teaches you, it mentally teaches you how to beautifully go in and out of situations. And if you could take today, who are the happiest people today are not the people watching the happiest people today are the people that were able to get up quicker, the people that are more resilient. And that's what we're trying to teach today. And the only way to be resilient is very simple, by saying today's a brand new day, and not let the past haunt you, and not let the divorces haunt you, and not let all the failures haunt you, and not making it, you're not a failure. Yes, this is part of the breaking of the vessels, which is such a beautiful concept, because there's no yush. It's always a renewal. It's always a renewal, always a renewal.
And that's what Rabbi Nachman was. That's what Rabbi Nachman was.
You want to start taking some questions?
Ein Shem Yush Ba'olam Klal can only come from the tzaddik who's living completely connected to what's happening right now. What are you getting? And again, there are people who've gone through so much suffering. This is not the chas v'shalom belittle complicated trauma and serious addiction, God forbid. But even in those types of opportunities, I mean, you see that there are people who have been able to transcend. And we see with Moshe Rabbeinu at the end of his life, the Torah says, Lo yachol atzeit v'lavo. He wasn't able to do that workout anymore. He wasn't able to bring it in. So once he wasn't doing that anymore, he was just sort of there. He had achieved that. It was time for him to go, because our job is to be constantly doing that. And instead of looking at that fall as a fall, instead of looking at those questions as doubts, as a sign of, so okay, so that's where my avoda is going to be starting from right now. This GPS analogy of like, you get off track, recalculating. Don't beat yourself up. Don't call yourself a piece of garbage. Recalculating. Okay, now I need to get there from here, and that's it. Now it's like, well, I messed up, and I can't believe I did this again, and how many times? It's like, okay, that's how you want to look at it. Then you're gonna have a lot harder time getting onto that route. But if you remind yourself, okay, I need to recalculate right now, compassionately, how you come back with it. And this is the week of compassion, of tiferet, of splendor, of compassion. And so we can really work on that of compassion to ourselves and compassion to others and compassion to the Rebbe Shalom. You know, he's also out of a job. He's also out of place. You know, he's
in suffering just like us.
He's been homeless, probably more from what the Svarim say. I'm not such a Kabbalist, but I'm saying if you're learning those Svarim and waking up, you know, at Chatzot to do Tikkun Chatzot and saying that like the world isn't the way it's supposed to be, and the world is the way it's supposed to be, and having that dialectic is a gesher tzar me'od. And the ikar is lo lehit pachet klal. Don't. This is a big nakuda that I want to. The one thing I wanted to say, good, I remembered, ADHD. Lo lehit pachet klal. Rabbi Nachman says, don't be afraid. You can be afraid. Right. It's a natural to be afraid. Lo lehit pachet. Don't make yourself more afraid. Don't add fire to that fuel. Don't add fuel to that fire. Excuse me. Don't create more issues. You're gonna have pain. Don't add suffering. You're going to stub your toe. Don't call yourself a piece of garbage and tell yourself that you're never going to be able to forget yourself. You can fix this. It might be a while. It might be a while, but you can fix this. And by connecting to your higher self, by connecting to Hashem, by connecting to the tzaddik, you know. And
more saying thank you. I think that's really the key to Rabbi Rush. So it's not only do you have to accept it, but you have to thank him. You have to thank him because you're seeing he's helping you fix your own situations, and that's the concept of recognizing how much we really have no we're going to wake up, God willing, and everything's going to, God willing, there'll be a new life, and one day we'll say, this is the greatest thing that ever happened. And obviously, it's very hard to see that when you see, rabbis dying, and you see this. It's very hard. It's very hard to go into that bittul right now when you see so many people. One thing is it's only the money, but when you see people dying, you see the rabbis, and it's very, very hard to. We can't
say anything. I mean, but you also can't say anything. They Yom HaShoah was last week. You can't say anything. It's mind-boggling. And the Churbanot, and you study the Pia Zesner's writing. You mentioned it in today's lecture about the Pia Zesner and his Hashkata, and he was killed al Kiddush Hashem with his Talmidim, and he was those works were done giving chizuk to the people in the Warsaw Ghetto. We can't even begin to imagine how he was able to not only maintain his faith but to keep. And he says things there you wouldn't believe. But at the end of the day, every single davening, every single Torah that he said was a tefillah. Just like Rabbi Nachman says, turn the Torah into tefillah. We're not going to know.
Exactly.
We're not going to know. But we also, that emunah is by definition not knowing. Emunah is when you don't know. Because if you know, that's not emunah anymore. It's like, I believe in God when I'm rich. I believe when the Dolphins get the, Tua. But
But that's why the world can't handle this. The world cannot handle this not being in control. That's what people are freaking out. It's just it's you can't be in control, and there's nothing you can do about it. And this is the real sorrow that's going on, the lack of being in control. And that's what you're not even supposed to be in control in the first place. But now you recognize how much you have absolutely no control.
I remember
so the more you want to control things, the more you're going to suffer, you know?
I had one of my brilliant shower thoughts. I put it on Twitter, and I was like, did you really think you were in control? I was like, it hit me. It's like, did you really think you were in control? And then like people were like, yeah. It's like, yeah, because this whole time, yeah, of course, because I'll get up in the morning and I do what I want to do and I say what I want to say and everything, and it's magieli. And it's like, do you really think you're in control? Again, this goof, you have no control over your goof. It could go like that. If you identify solely as your body, good luck with that. Good luck with that, because you know what? You're gonna get gray hairs, and you're gonna get.
You know what's funny? Rabbi Nachman lived, I think, 38 years.
38 years. 38 years.
And he said he was living on such a consciousness that for him, death was from moving from one room to another room. He didn't even understand. You understand? He was in such a high level that death was not something that bothered him in earlier of his life. But towards later of his life, he literally said in his book, death is like going from one room to another room, which was, you hear that, mind blowing. It was it was like, you know, that there's a better life out there, and we recognize some people are dying, you know, older, but they're going to a better place, and they hit their mission, like there's certain missions that people have to go through, and once the mission is over, you completed the mission. And once you recognize you're a soul, you're not this is who you are. How many times have we already come back here? I'm sure I came back 3-4 times. My soul came back 3-4 times to fix a lot of things. And when you look at it like that, you look at it in perspective that, why would I give importance to things that are temporary in my life? Everything's temporary anyway. What am I going to, I'm going to go all my life and just, when you live life like that, it's very easy for you to forget. It's very easy to forgive. You're not going to major minor things. But if you think you're going to live forever, then that's where you get stuck on every aspect has to go your way. But I know I'm not going to live forever. I know life is temporary. So it's easier for me to not get stuck on things all day long. And I think that's the proper perspective that Rav Nachman gave me. And he really helped me on that.
Yeah. And you mentioned the gratitude. You can't be depressed. You can't be depressed if you're grateful. If you're be'emes grateful, if you really feel gratitude, then how could you be depressed? How could you be depressed? I mean, no, it's mamash a stira. It's a contradiction. You can't hold. Like, sometimes you could have different emotions. You could hold different emotions. But if you're grateful, then what are you depressed about? So it's a conscious practice. It's a conscious, and so we could do it every Shmona Esrei during Modim if we pause instead of just saying the words, and we actually think. And when we are grateful, we're saying that we're grateful for everything that's happened to us up till now, because we wouldn't be here right now to be grateful for it, for the parents and for the relationships that failed or didn't, or the business opportunities that failed or didn't. It's like, but I'm grateful because I'm here right now with whatever little, Dalit Amos that I'm in. And it's just like, that's it. And we could consciously choose to do that over and over. It's what we're trying to do. I'm not there, but I wrote a book about something I want to be, so b'siyata d'shmaya, and I'm looking forward to your book. That's what I can't wait for.
Well, so again, this is Benji Epstein's book, Living in the Present. Strongly recommended to everybody. The book is, again, cover to cover. It's a beautiful book. We'll take a few questions if you guys want. Sure. And Zrat Hashem, I want really people to read the book, because there's just so many ideas in this book. I just touched on 3 or 4, but there's like 40 ideas that are all good mindfulness ideas that a person can run to, and he could really use these meditations to calm him, to, God willing, to be more calm and more relaxed.
And when this is all over, Bezrat Hashem, whenever it's over, I've already tried to convince Rabbi Fenster to do a 2-day seminar in Yerushalayim and a 2-day seminar in Miami. So stay posted for that.
I wish.
Maminim. Wishing. Hashem.
Any questions?
Yes.
Do we have any questions?
Sure. So, Doc, this one is for you. One of the viewers has called 2 Judaica stores in Flatbush, and they mentioned that your book has been sold out. Another viewer from UK mentioned that they checked out Amazon and a bunch of bookstores in UK, and they don't have your book there either. So they just wanted to let you know about that. So So there's another question, Dr. Benji. I'm
That
curious.
wasn't a question. That was a test about whether or not I'm going to say something about somebody negatively, and the answer is I'm not going to. After Gedale made such a beautiful aura about
Well, maybe they just want you to know.
miniot. Let's just say, and
maybe they just want you to know that your book is selling out really quickly.
Oh, that might be one. That's see, there you go. How you look at it. There you
gotta look at it positively.
Exactly.
I'm the mindfulness guy who leaves his keys in this car, looking around like, has anyone seen my car?
It's always like that, by the way.
Oh, they're like, Benji, you left your keys running in the car in my driveway, and they're like, here's a book for you to read, and they give me my book, and I'm just like,
okay.
Torah 6.
Make sure you get the logistics.
Yeah, that's right.
Make sure you get the logistics.
Always.
All right, here we go.
More questions?
Yeah, sure. Doc, this one is for you. I'm curious if all the avoda in the book is relevant in the same way in a person who is clinically depressed.
Of course. I mean, of course, a person should not just use a book to get treatment. It's a friend, it's a Rebbe, it's a therapist, it's group. A person cannot get themselves out. It could be connecting to the tzaddik, but recognizing that a depressed mindset is usually because you're rehashing the past and you're ruminating over things, and it's a lot of being focused in the past. Not necessarily, not always, but starting to notice the depressed thoughts and not holding on to them and seeing them as just as thoughts, and recognizing that doesn't have to define myself and my avoda and what I'm doing. So certainly the book is applicable to everyone. Meaning you don't have to have any clinical issues. That's the godless of Rebbe Nachman also. You don't have to be searching for something. It happens to be that the people who are searching are obviously drawn to the koach of the tzaddik. But in terms of depression or anxiety, which is by definition future oriented, whatever you're anxious about is like what's going to happen when the bomb drops or when the shoe hits or whatever, it's the fan, and it's just like, hey, be here right now. And if we can really bring Hashem into that is the ultimate yichud, and that we can really accomplish. And we didn't get to touch on this enough, so maybe for next time about the avoda of his bodedus has to be happening in the here and now. So just to answer the question one more time, is just that yes, for a person who is clinically depressed, but please do not just use a book and think that will be enough. It could definitely be a wonderful adjunct, but I strongly encourage you finding a therapeutic, either a counselor, a Rebbe, a group, to continue to work on it. But these ideas, if you're living with these ideas, just like if you're grateful you can't be depressed, if you're fully present with what's going on, and that doesn't mean being over, means then you're able to focus and bring your attention to where you need to, and also conduct yourself in a way that you in line with your values.
But sometimes I read a book on the Psychologist in Sum that we have moments of sadness. It's okay to have a moment of it.
Rebbe Nachman says. Rebbe Nachman says a broken heart.
We want to be careful with saying, okay, I had a moment of this. Next thing you know, I'm depressed. No, I have a moment of this. I have moments where there's darkness, and how you label that. You have to be careful how you label things. That's why I'm very against labels. One time somebody came to me and said, some doctor diagnosis is clinically depressed. And okay, what happens if I tell you you're clinically happy now? What are you going to do? You have to be careful with labels. Of course, you need the therapist. You might need medication to get you going, but it shouldn't be a 20-year, 15, 20-year thing. It should be a moment. It's a grief and this, and then you need the tools to get back up.
No, for sure. I like that about the labels. Meaning, you're in
I'm not into labels.
No, you're in neshama. You're in neshama. You're in neshama. You want to label? You're in neshama. That's it. You're a Jew.
Labels.
You're a Jew. You're kind of Jew. Modern Orthodox, Chabad, conservative. You're a Jew. You're a Jew. Yeah, we label clothes, not people.
Everything. Too many labels. He's religious. He's from. He's not from. That one's of this one, that, blah, 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 blah. Too many labels. Enough already. Get rid of the labels. I think this is teaching you. Get rid of the labels. There's no such thing as labels. Everybody's a soul, and we're all in this storm together, and we're all here to help each other. And stop with the labels. It just drives me crazy.
Beautiful.
And by the way, the third highest death in this country, by the way, is medical mistakes. You should know. So just be careful when you when you have a certain label, and that becomes your life. And I've seen many times where people have been mislabeled, and I would tell people, you could also create a new label by saying, I'm clinically happy. Like Reb Nachman says, sometimes you have to think greater than you feel, you know?
Okay, we're ready for the next question?
Next question.
Yeah. What do we do during the time of contraction?
You build desire. You build desire. What do you do when you can't get something in life? You build a desire. You build a desire to want that. Just like anything that's taken away from you. Why would something taken away from you? So you want it more. You take a lollipop away from a kid. What do? You should want it more. Anytime that I'm in a state of contraction, what I'm doing, I'm just desiring. I want it more. That's the purpose.
It's also a chiddush of Rebbe Nachman is that if we believe that our desires were as equally important or as equally as valued, again back to the process and the end goal, or equally as valued as the end result, then those desires become wow. Like the more I want, but what ends up happening is like we get frustrated because like if those wants don't get actualized, so then we feel like that was for naught. But why? Maybe that's just to increase that shukah, to increase that longing, to increase that desire. Beautiful to build it up.
That's what I mean. I imagine anytime that I'm in a contraction, I imagine what I want to happen, not what I don't want to happen. So that's really that test, that place of darkness is what do you want to happen in that place of darkness? That's where free will can happen. Free will cannot happen if there's clarity. Free will can only happen if there's a contraction. Because if there was clarity, you wouldn't have free will. You would already know what to do. So that's what really, you have to have the contraction in life. It has to happen. It's part of life to keep you either to desire or to give you reward for free will. So you start loving the contractions. You start partnering with Hashem in the contractions. You start loving that stuff, you know? Do I have my video on there or no? I don't know if I have my video on there or not.
That's why sorry, I cut you off in this. I don't see you.
The Yetzer is already knocked me out 10 times in this video.
and you're still here. And you're still here.
And we're still here.
We're still here. Sheva Yipol Tzadik V'Kam. It's not a big deal. You're supposed to get knocked down. How do you get up?
I've been 2 times already. I've been knocked out of this video. So we're still pulling.
We're still going.
Okay, the next question. Curious if you use guided imagery in your practice when working to cultivate Yeshua V'Dat with clients and what that looks like.
The long answer is a long answer, but the short answer is yes. There are a few from our tradition. I sometimes take from my clinical work, but definitely mindfulness breathing techniques. There's a book called I can't remember the name right now. It's from a Rav Epstein who was killed in the ghetto. It's called A Compassionate World, and he gives guided imagery, and we do some of that, and more just acceptance and mindfulness techniques of just breathing, accepting difficult emotions, learning how to look at thoughts, learning how to see thoughts go, and how to connect to the here and now. So some guided imagery, but more about bringing just the meditations of bringing us here to the present. Sometimes we do mindful eating with the bracha to really just sensitize us to what happens when we are focused on the task at hand, how quickly the worries and the unpleasant thoughts sort of recede to the background when we're really present on what we're doing. And Baruch Hashem, in our own avoda, in our own practice, we are constantly getting reminders of what we need to be doing, of how we can connect, whether it be through davening, whether it be through making brachot, whether it be through acts of kindness, or even when we're interacting at work. You know, if we pause for 1 second and say, I am doing this in order to bring more kvod shamayim into the world, or cleaning up the mess of your kid made, and you said, I am being mekayim the mitzvah of ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. You know, so we're just priming ourselves, or we're setting that intention that Rabbi Gedale mentioned about is so key. And then suddenly we've elevated every single thing we're doing. But again, in my sessions, I try to focus on bringing the mindful hearing, how we're listening without an agenda, to really let that person speak, to let that person hear. So really what's happening in the therapy session is really hopefully a model of being present, and that free choice that can only happen in this moment, because otherwise, like Rav Gedale just said, you can't have free choice unless there is some sort of safek, it's not clear. Otherwise, it's a no-brainer. And the Beit HaMikdash was called the Beit HaBechira. That was the ultimate, place of choice. That was the place of choice of free will. Of just saying, like, being fully present right now is really coming down from high. So, yeah.
Beautiful.
Next question. One of the viewer wants to know the 33 points of Rabbi Nachman.
The what? Sorry?
The 33rd point of Rabbi Nachman.
The 33rd teaching that we talked about before?
Yes.
Oh, you're talking about the when
on
you
a good day.
Rabbi Nachman has this. Yeah, Rabbi Nachman has the Torah that when a person there's good days and there's days that are challenging. And he says, when you're having a good day, enjoy the day, see the good in the day. But when you're having a difficult day, that's the day that you should look for the hidden blessing in that day. That's the day to be more mindful, to see the hiddenness in that day, the light in that day. I spoke about it a little bit today in the morning, that, the majority of blessings that you're going to get, they're not going to come to the front door. They're going to come as sneaky blessings from the back door that look like monsters. And that's one of the things to look at. Look at the good. There's something good in that day, but the Yetzer Hara conceals it. That's where we have to make a special effort to look for the good in that day. Just like we're doing with this whole virus situation, we're looking for the good in it. We're recognizing this. It's a connection between our families. It's a connection between, we're trying to clean up the world. So we're trying to look for the good, even though the businesses are closed and people are God forbid, sick. But we're trying to extract the good from the situation. This is exactly what your life is all about: extracting the good. When life gives you lemons, make them into lemonade. And you will get a lot of lemons, by the way. You should know that.
Yep.
The next question, relating to the present, what is the significance of Tiferet Sheb'Tiferet?
Yeah,
you go for it. I'm not a Kabbalist. You take it.
I mean, Tiferet represents truth. This is the week really to find the truth in your life, to find the truth, to search for truth. And today's a double dose of truth. Tiferet also means splendor. It means beauty. It means, it's a combination between Chesed and Gevurah, the right harmony. So Tiferet is all about recognizing that I have an issue, but I'm going to be kind to myself and working on it, not having an issue and being cruel to myself. Like, today's a good day to start a goal, but at the end of the day, take small steps. It's a day to connect to the truth, to search for the truth. That's what Tiferet. That's what I've seen in Tiferet.
And we also touched on the aspect of compassion. And when we have compassion for ourselves and for others, and for the Ribono Shalom also, Tanya speaks about that in the 45th chapter, 45th chapter about that. So this is a time to be compassionate, and the question is really also that every single day, and though there are those people who are tapped into the every single hour and every single moment of the day, that there's a different energy there that we can tap into, and sometimes it's done consciously, sometimes it's done subconsciously, but we believe that these are times that are the most opportune. It doesn't mean that the whole year isn't a time that a person can be working on it, but here's the time to be building up those vessels, like Rav Gedale always teaching us, building up those vessels.
It's funny. It's funny because we see that in sports. If we watch sports, we're waiting for the team to make a run. The whole anticipation is for that team to make a run, that team to change momentum. Like, sports is all about momentum. You're waiting for the play. You're waiting, and you see it's constantly changing. And it's the same way in our lives. We should also look at, just though we look at sports games, we should look at the same thing in our lives. Like, you know what? I could make a comeback. I could see it. I'm going to make a comeback in the fourth quarter. I'm going to make a comeback at 3:00 in the afternoon. We shouldn't just say, "Oh, I'm down 21-0 in the morning," and the day's over. You would never do that in football. You would never do that in basketball. Look at sports also as the same analogy as to say just how we work that in sports, we should do the same thing in our own lives.
Okay, the next question is for the doctor. What chapter is your favorite in your book?
Oh, what chapter is my favorite in the book? I think I don't really have a favorite. I think that the chapter on wisdom and understanding is definitely something that
beautiful.
I've come back to. And at the last chapter, the chapter of tshuva, that renewal, that belief that the tshuva, the ultimate mindfulness mitzvah, because tshuva just means connecting to the now. And there's a piece from the believe that with that exhale, we're dead. And the only way we're able to be resuscitated is through the goodness and kindness of our loving Creator. Al kol neshima o neshima ta'aliyah. Let every soul praise God. Kol haneshama ta'aliyah, al kol neshima o neshima. So that's really what I'm connecting to right now. Is that aspect, that idea of tshuva being the ultimate mindfulness. So I don't really, it's like, do you have favorite kids? I mean, I'm very proud of the book, and I feel very humbled and blessed that I was able to be an accurate reflection from our teachers, specifically, coming from Rebbe Nachman, Rav Moshe Weinberger, Rav Judah Michel, Rav Avram Tzvi Kluger Shlita, the people who I'm drawing from, and who gave me a little pat on the head and said, "Good job, Benji," and I said, "That's it. That's all I need." And the validation from your audience and from Rav Gedale, who clearly has read the book and has internalized it, and it's inspiring me to want to live it more also. So I thank you.
Amen. All right, guys, I think I've been kicked out again, so I'm going to call it a day. So anyway, Benji, it was such a pleasure working with you, and we'll continue. Hopefully, we'll have more sessions.
We're looking forward.
Next sessions, we'll just talk about a couple subjects on the book. I want to just make a general introduction. For now, we have this whole Zoom conferences. We could definitely get more conferences and maybe do some meditations like we did before.
I'm starting to do more meditations. If you could say if people are interested in meditations, contact me. Something that I'm thinking about doing more and more, because I think that we need to cultivate more ways of doing it, because Lo HaMidrash Ha'ikar Ela Maisa and Rav Gedale and the whole crew. I want to thank you guys so much. This is really a treat. The silver linings in all this difficult times. I feel about Sara Shebetocha Sara. This was a real bracha. So thank you.
Amen. God bless you. May Hashem continue. We will see each other soon in Uman.
Amen. See you. Refuah Shelema to all the people who need it.
Amen. Amen. God bless you guys.